Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of Sovereign Grace churches with our executive director. Mark, anybody who didn't check out the podcast on the last episode, we encourage to go back and check that out because you recorded it from the Ethiopian Pastors College, and that was deeply encouraging for those of us who were watching the questions and answers that you guys were interacting with at the college, to get to meet those guys, hear their thoughts and their experience. Very grateful for what God's doing in Ethiopia, of course. But that wasn't the only thing you were doing there, teaching at the Pastors College. You actually attended a bit of a historic gathering for Sovereign Grace in Africa. What were you doing there?
Yeah, what we had planned is during that time when I was teaching that first week at the PC, which I taught pneumatology, we had planned and actually pulled off the very first Sovereign Grace Churches Africa pastors retreat there in Addis Ababa. And that was a
Nice.
retreat for all of the ordained or those in the ordination process, elders in Sovereign Grace churches on the continent of Africa.
Hmm.
And it was really a good time. Dave Taylor had planned to be there. He was actually just before the week before of that retreat. He was in Italy, co-leading with Ed O'Meara,
Hmm.
a Sovereign Grace Church's Europe pastors retreat, and was going to fly then to Africa, to Ethiopia, to lead this. However, his he needed to get back home
Hmm.
because of some health issues with his family. So
Hmm.
I just obviously stepped in and helped co-lead that with Michael Granger, and it was just such a good week. So let me just tell you who was there. First of all, there were men there
Yeah.
from let's see, one, two, three different nations on the continent of Africa. So Josh Kruger was there from Windhoek,
Hmm.
Namibia, where he planted a church over a year ago. Hector Maliki is from came from Ndola, Zambia, and it was so good to have him there. Four nations,
Yeah.
actually, I forgot. There were two ordained elders from Sovereign Grace Church in Nairobi, Brian Kiema, the senior pastor there, who was actually a graduate of the Ethiopian PC, the Trinity
Right.
Fellow PC, a few years ago. And then his other elder there, Jonathan Leslie. And then there were
Right.
men from Ethiopia, obviously. Trinity Fellowship was so gracious and kind and opened their doors and their hospitality to host this conference. Michael Granger,
Hmm.
obviously the senior pastor of Trinity Fellowship in Addis Ababa. Emmanuel, who was ordained elder there and a graduate of the very first Trinity Fellow PC class. Josh Pinnell, who leads obviously the PC there, and then Yabsika, who is
Hmm.
only has his oral exam left, and I'm fully confident he'll do great on that. He'll
Nice.
be fully ordained before too long. So those were all the men that participated, along with myself. So men from four different nations: Kenya, Ethiopia, Zambia, and Namibia, and it was quite a
Hmm.
time. It was a highlight. It
I
exceeded
bet.
my expectations because God did more than we could think or ask.
Wonderful. It's some of those names, Josh, Brian, that we've had them on the podcast
Yeah,
recently. So if anybody wants to learn more about some of those church plants in Africa, go back and check out those episodes.
right.
What a wonderful experience that must have been. It's very encouraging to hear that the first Sovereign Grace Pastors Africa retreat happened. So what did you guys do? How did it go?
It went really, really well. Dave had done a good job of mapping it all out for us. So we just kind of we just had to modify that schedule and what was going to be talked about while we were there. The purpose of it was to bring these men together for the first time, to build relate. It's such a big continent. It's
Hmm.
just so hard for that to
Yeah.
happen. So it was very, very good for them to be together first, just to get to know one another. And very quickly over that week, they relationally grew closer together, and I was so
Hmm.
encouraged to see that. And they all said the beginning of trust that could be developed, there is being
Hmm.
developed between them, which is, as you know, Ben, so important in partnership. So there
Yeah.
was the relational development aspect of it. There was also just the reinforcement of values that we hold dear, because it helps. In the third part of it was just to think about the future of Sovereign Grace Churches Africa and what
Mm.
that could look like and what they're looking to build there and how they could help one another do that. And if we ever get to, which I think we will get to a point where we have Sovereign Grace Churches of Africa, it won't be for the whole continent. I could
Yes,
see, it's so big. Sovereign Grace Churches,
understandably. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Sovereign Grace Churches, East Africa, for example, that could be, at least right now, that could include Kenya and Ethiopia. Sovereign Grace Churches in Southern Africa, maybe Central. We'll just have to see how it develops over the years. But excuse me. But it was such an encouraging time. So,
Mm.
for example, Michael taught on gospel centrality, which
Mm.
was really, really good. We taught on a couple of our virtues. Emmanuel just gave a great teaching. They had great discussion over godliness.
Mm.
And then Yabsika did a really good job on the virtue of encouragement.
Oh, good.
And there's some other teachings that were done. I did one on gospel partnership, the priority of gospel partnership, and those were some of the things that were taught. And then after each one, we just built in time. Dave had built in time to just discuss them, and the
Mm.
discussion was good because at the end of the week, not only had they built together relationally, now there was their trust built, but they said, here's what we've realized on this retreat. We're all on the same page.
Mm.
We're on the same page theologically. We're on the same page in terms of what we want to build using sovereign grace values and virtues. And that is very encouraging to us.
Yeah.
So I was so sad Dave couldn't be there because I wanted him to experience it, but he did the right thing by going home and caring for his family. But it went really, really well. I think I told you before we started recording, Ben, it exceeded my expectations
Mm.
because God was kind to do more than we asked or even could think to ask him to do, as I mentioned a moment
Mm.
ago.
Wonderful. It is just quite something to watch over time as a vision really from a number of years ago of us increasingly becoming this global family of churches, to seeing those fellowships established on different continents, now in Africa
Mm-hmm.
as well. What the pastors are building together in Africa. That is a wonderful thing to hear. Thanks for your work and for everybody else who served at the retreat. Let's continue to pray for what God's doing in Africa as these men continue to build together for the future and for gospel expansion in the continent of Africa. So thanks,
Amen.
Mark, for the update. And thank you all for checking out the podcast. We'll see you here next week, Lord willing. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.